The Lost Girl in the Rain. The rain fell hard on the quiet planet of Arkan 4. Jack pulled his coat tighter around him. The wind was cold. His boots made wet sounds as he walked down the muddy path toward his camp. He had been out collecting broken drone parts from the crash field. Life as a human repairman on this alien planet wasn't exciting, but it paid well. Suddenly, he stopped. A strange sound reached his ears. It was soft, like a whimper. Jack turned his head, eyes scanning the thick alien trees. The rain made it hard to hear, but then he heard it again, a small, high-pitched cry. It wasn't an animal. He slowly stepped off the path, careful not to slip. His heart beat faster. Something didn't feel right. The cry came again, closer now. He pushed aside wet leaves and branches. And then he saw her, a little alien girl. She was sitting against a tree trunk, shaking from the cold. Her skin was a soft silver gray, glowing slightly under the rain. Her long white hair stuck to her face. She wore nothing but a torn cloth around her chest. Bare feet, thin arms, big blue eyes filled with fear. She looked no older than 7. Jack knelt down slowly. He didn't want to scare her. "Hey," he said softly. "It's okay. I won't hurt you." She flinched but didn't run. He took off his coat and gently wrapped it around her. Her small hands gripped the fabric tightly. She looked up at him with wide, searching eyes. Her lips trembled. She tried to say something, but it came out in a language he didn't understand. "That's all right," he said, lifting her carefully into his arms. "You're safe now." She was light as a feather. Jack brought her back to his tent in the outpost. It was small, but warm. He turned on the heater and grabbed a towel. She sat on the bed, eyes still watching him. She hadn't spoken a word since. He gave her warm soup in a cup. At first she stared at it. Then slowly she took a sip, then another. Soon she was drinking fast, both hands gripping the cup. "You must be starving," Jack said. He noticed something odd. There were bruises on her arms, faint but visible. Her knees had scrapes. She didn't just get lost. She had been through something bad. He pointed to himself. "Jack." Then he pointed to her, slowly raising his eyebrows. "You?" She blinked, then whispered something. One word. "Lura." Jack smiled. "Lura, that's your name?" She gave a tiny nod. That night she curled up under the blanket, still holding Jack's coat. He sat in the chair, unable to sleep. Questions raced through his mind. Where had she come from? Why was she out there in the storm? Why didn't anyone come looking for her? He looked over at her. She was sleeping now, breathing slow and soft. There was something about her, something strange and sad. He picked up his old communicator and tried to reach the local security center. Unregistered life form found near. Coordinates 8A17. Female child possibly lost or abandoned, he reported. But the signal was weak. The message didn't go through. Jack sighed. He would try again tomorrow. For now, the girl needed rest. A loud thunderclap shook the tent. Lura woke up screaming. Jack rushed to her side. She backed away, eyes wide with terror. She was trembling. It's okay, Lura, just thunder." But she looked like she had seen a monster. Jack reached out gently. She grabbed his hand with both of hers and didn't let go. It took a long time before she calmed down again. When she finally fell asleep again, still holding his hand, Jack sat there beside her, eyes on the tent door. Someone had hurt this girl, and whoever they were. Jack had a feeling they weren't done looking for her. Strange visitors in the dark night fell heavy on Arkan 4. Outside Jack's small tent, the wind whispered through the trees. The rain had stopped, but fog had replaced it, thick and silver like a ghost crawling across the ground. Inside, Jack sat awake. Laura was asleep on the bed, still holding his coat. A small lamp lit the tent with soft orange light. Jack couldn't relax. Something felt off, like the night was holding its breath. Then he heard it. Crunch. A footstep. Slow. Deliberate. Jack stood up quickly. He turned off the lamp. The tent fell into darkness. He moved silently to the corner and grabbed his old plasma tool. Not a weapon, but it could still burn through metal. Another footstep. Closer. He peeked through the side flap of the tent. Shapes moved in the fog. 3 tall figures, shadowy, not human. Their eyes glowed faintly red. Jack's heart began to pound. He had seen aliens like these before, not locals, not peaceful. They were hunters. Voices in a strange language floated toward the tent, low and sharp. Then, one of them spoke in broken galactic common. She is near. The girl. She left a trail. Jack's grip tightened on the plasma tool. They were looking for Lura. One figure raised a small scanning device. A red light blinked. It pointed directly toward Jack's tent. She is inside, the alien said. They began to move forward. Jack rushed to Lura and whispered, "Quiet, don't move." She opened her eyes and froze. Jack quickly pulled open a storage hatch beneath the floor panel. It was a tight space made for tools. He lifted her gently and placed her inside. "Don't make a sound," he whispered. She nodded, eyes wide, terrified. The hatch clicked shut just as knock, knock, knock. Jack turned. The flap opened. 3 aliens stood there, tall, armored, and cold. One stepped inside. His skin was dark green, covered in old scars. His voice was rough. "We track a missing asset," he said. "A child. Female, gray skin. Escaped property." Jack acted calm. "Haven't seen anyone." The alien's red eyes scanned the room. His nose twitched. He sniffed the air. "This place smells like her." Jack shrugged. "I don't bathe often." The alien didn't laugh. Another one stepped in and looked around the room. He moved toward the bed, leaned close, and sniffed the coat lying there. "Fresh," he growled. Jack stepped forward, trying not to look nervous. "This is private property. You're not allowed in without clearance." The first alien sneered. "We don't need clearance. We need the girl, and she was here." Jack didn't blink. "I've seen no one." A long silence. Then the alien stepped closer, nose to nose with Jack. "If we find out you're lying, your human heart won't leave this tent." Then they turned and walked out. Jack stood frozen for a full minute. When he was sure they were gone, he ran to the hatch and opened it. Lura was there, breathing fast, her hands shaking. He pulled her out and hugged her tightly. "It's okay. They're gone. I won't let them take you." Tears slid down her cheeks. She spoke in her language. Jack couldn't understand her words, but her voice was full of fear. Jack sat with her in silence. He realized something. These weren't rescuers. They weren't looking for a missing child. They were hunting her like an animal. And Lura was running from something much bigger than just a cruel owner. That night, Jack made a decision. He would not wait for help. He would not send messages to silent stations. He would protect her himself. Even if it meant going against alien laws, even if it meant war. A name and a past. The next morning, the sun didn't shine. The skies over Arkan 4 stayed gray, heavy with thick clouds. The forest around Jack's tent was quiet. Too quiet. Inside, Lura sat on the edge of the bed. She looked smaller in the morning. Light. Her silver skin was pale, her eyes stared at the ground. She hadn't said a word since the night visitors. Jack placed a warm drink beside her. "Lura," he said softly, "I need to know the truth. Why were those aliens hunting you?" She didn't answer. He knelt down beside her. "I want to protect you, but I can't do it with blind eyes." Still silence. Jack sighed and stood. He walked to the supply chest and took out a small object, a language pad. He sat beside her again and turned it on. The pad glowed softly and began to scan her. Voice when she spoke, Jack handed it to her. Lura blinked, hesitated. Then slowly, carefully, said a sentence in her native tongue. The pad buzzed, trying to understand. After a few seconds, a rough translation appeared. I ran. I was not supposed to run. Jack kept his voice calm. Run from where? She typed. Again. From the cages. From the men with red eyes. Jack felt a chill. The ones who came last night? She nodded. He asked gently, Why were you in a cage? She tapped the pad again. They said my mother was too proud. So they took me to punish her. Jack stared at the words, then at Laura. She was not just a lost child, she was a message, a punishment. Her mother had done something, and now the child was paying the price. Where is your mother now? Jack asked. Laura hesitated. Her hands shook as she typed. I don't know. She told me to run. I ran into the rain. She never came back. Tears filled her eyes. Jack placed a hand on her shoulder. She flinched, but didn't pull away. You did the right thing, he said softly. You're safe here. Later that day, Jack tried again to send a signal to the outer stations. Still no reply. He checked the satellite feed. There were energy blocks near the mountains. The hunters must be jamming all signals. They wanted no help to reach him. He turned to Laura. She was sleeping again, curled in a ball. Jack stared at her. He couldn't stop thinking about her mother. Was she dead? Captured, or maybe still out there? If she had told Laura to run, maybe she was still fighting. That night, Jack had a strange dream. He was in a dark room. Cages lined the walls. Inside each cage was a child, crying, whispering, calling for their parents. Then he saw Laura's mother. She was chained to a wall, her body bruised, her face calm. She looked at Jack and whispered, Protect my daughter. Don't let them take her back. Then the dream faded into black. Jack woke up in a sweat. The tent was cold. A soft noise reached his ears, like footsteps outside. He grabbed his tool and peeked outside. But there was nothing, only fog. He went. Back in, Laura was still asleep, but her hand was holding his coat again, tight like she was afraid it would disappear. He sat beside her, watching her sleep. Then he whispered something, not expecting an answer. Wherever your mother is, I hope she knows you're safe. To his surprise, Laura opened her eyes and whispered in a sleepy voice. Her name is Nerea. Jack looked at her. That was the first time she had said her mother's name. Nerea. The mystery was growing. Who was Nerea? Why was she punished? And why did they want Laura so badly? Jack knew he was running out of time, because if those hunters came back again, this time they wouldn't knock. The return. Not alone. The wind was strange that morning. It howled between the tall trees like a voice, cold and whispering. Jack stood outside his tent, gripping a steel mug filled with warm tea. The forest felt different today, like it was waiting. Inside the tent, Laura sat quietly, drawing shapes on the floor with a stick. Ever since she had spoken her mother's name, Nerea, Jack had felt something change in her. She still didn't smile, but she wasn't afraid to meet his eyes anymore. She trusted him. Jack didn't take that lightly. He'd already begun packing emergency supplies, food, water, power cells. If the hunters came back, he wouldn't stay here. He would run with Laura if he had to. Then he heard it. Knock, knock, knock. Not at the front flap, at the back door. Jack froze. Laura looked up, alarmed. Another knock, softer, slower, not urgent. He reached for his plasma tool and moved toward the back. His hand pushed the flap open, and he gasped. Standing there, barely on her feet, was a tall alien woman. Her long white hair was wet and tangled. Her silver-gray skin was bruised, her clothes torn and covered in dirt. Her eyes, deep violet and burning with pain, met his. Behind her stood Laura, holding her hand. Jack, the little girl whispered. This is my mother. The woman swayed, then collapsed. Jack carried her inside and placed her gently on the bed. She was feverish. Her breathing was rough, and there was dried blood on her arms and legs. Laura held a cloth and wiped her mother's forehead. Jack worked, fast, cleaning wounds, giving her warm water, wrapping her in blankets. Hours passed. Finally, the woman opened her eyes. Her voice was hoarse. "Where am I?" Jack stepped forward. "Safe. My name is Jack. Your daughter found me. I've been protecting her." She stared at him, confused, then turned to Laura. "You're alive," she whispered, tears forming in her eyes. Laura nodded and buried her face in her mother's chest. For the first time, Jack saw the girl cry. Nerea slowly raised her arms and held her daughter tight. That night, after Laura had fallen asleep beside her mother, Jack sat across the room, watching them in silence. Nerea finally spoke. "I know who you are," she said quietly. Jack looked at her, surprised. "You do? You're the human who refused the bounty. A year ago, when they offered money for capturing runaways, you said no. You called it dishonor." Jack blinked. He had forgotten that moment. It had felt small at the time. She continued, "I never forgot your name. Jack. I told my daughter, if you're ever lost, find him." Jack felt a strange weight settle in his chest. "You were in a cage?" he asked gently. Nerea nodded. "I was a noble once," she said. "My house refused to kneel to the new rulers. They took my land, my people, my name, and when I still wouldn't obey, they took my daughter, said I would break if I heard her scream." Her hands clenched the blanket. They were wrong. Jack sat in silence for a moment. Then he asked, "How did you escape?" She looked at him, eyes hard. "I didn't. I made a deal, a cruel one. I traded everything I had left for a chance to reach her." Jack felt his stomach turn. "They let you go?" "No. They let me bleed." She pulled back her sleeve to show a fresh burn. "Mark branding, I'm marked now. Across this system, I'm a hunted outlaw." Jack said, "You're not hunted here." She stared at him. "No one gives shelter to a fugitive," she said, "and even fewer to one like me, with a child, especially from my species." Jack's voice was quiet but strong. "I'm not like the others." Silence filled the tent. Then Nerea said something Jack never expected to hear. "Then take me." He blinked. "What?" "Marry me." Jack thought she was joking, but her face was serious, calm. Her eyes didn't leave his. He couldn't find the words. Nerea looked down. "You saved my child. You fed her, protected her. She smiles when she says your name. I've never seen her do that. Not even with me. I didn't do it for—" "I know," she interrupted. "That's why I'm asking." Jack stared at her. His mind raced. This woman was proud, broken, strong. She didn't want pity. She wanted something real. A future, a name, safety for her child. And maybe, just maybe, someone to hold her hand when the world became too cruel. He didn't say yes. But he didn't say no either. That night Jack lay awake. Beside him, Laura and Nerea slept peacefully. He had come to this planet for quiet work and forgotten corners. But now the universe had handed him something louder than war and more fragile than stars. A family, and the question in his heart whispered louder than ever, was he brave enough to keep it? Her past, her shame. The morning air was still. The fog had lifted, but the cold stayed behind. Jack sat outside the tent sharpening a tool, trying to clear his thoughts. Inside, Nerea moved quietly. She didn't speak much. Since she had asked him to marry her, there had been silence between them, heavy, filled with questions neither of them was ready to ask out loud. Laura played nearby, collecting colorful alien stones and humming softly. She was happy, for the first time since he met her. But Nerea? She had not smiled once. Later that day, Jack returned with fresh berries and boiled roots. He entered the tent and saw Nerea standing in front of the mirror, her shirt off, back turned. He paused. Her back was covered in old scars, not bruises, whip marks, deep, faded, countless. Nerea noticed his reflection and froze. Then slowly she pulled her shirt back on and turned to face him. Her voice was hard. "You've seen it now? Do you still think I'm noble?" Jack didn't answer. She walked past him and sat down. Her hands were tight fists. "When I was young," she said, "I was the daughter of a proud house. We believed in peace and building, not war. But the new rulers believed pride was weakness." She stared ahead, unblinking. "They took everything. My father was executed, my brothers vanished, I was taken and placed in a noble training camp. It was no camp. It was a market for the rich and cruel." Jack clenched his jaw. "And they did that to you?" She nodded slowly. "Not just that, I was sold, resold, traded like an object. I gave birth to Laura in secret. I hid her. For years, no one knew. Then someone found out. They threatened to kill her." Her voice cracked. "So, I made a deal. They could take me, but not her. I begged. I offered myself again and again." Tears formed in her eyes, but she didn't wipe them away. They agreed. And then they broke the deal. They took her anyway. Laura ran. I was chained for days before. I escaped. She looked up at Jack. "You say you want to protect us, but do you even understand what we are?" Jack sat down across from her. "You're survivors," he said quietly. "Both of you." She laughed bitterly. "Survivors? No, I'm broken, used, stained. I'm not the kind of woman you build a future with, human." Jack looked into her eyes. "That's not what Laura thinks." Nerea looked down. "She deserves better," she whispered. "She has you," Jack replied. "And now she has me." Nerea's lips trembled. "But what if they come back?" she asked. "What if they take me again or take her?" Jack leaned forward. "Then they'll have to go through me." Silence. Then for the first time, Nerea's voice softened. "I don't want to be afraid anymore." Jack nodded. "Then stay. Let's stop running." Nerea looked at him, really looked at him. She saw not just a human, but a man who chose to fight for a child who wasn't his, a man who made a warm home out of a broken tent, a man who didn't flinch when he saw her scars, a man who made her feel something she thought she had lost forever. Hope. That night, she sat beside him near the campfire. Laura slept inside. Jack handed her a warm drink. She took it, held it with both hands, and whispered, "If I accept your kindness, I will never leave." Jack smiled slightly. "Good." Nerea looked up at the stars. "I used to believe in love," she said. "Then I believed in nothing. Now, I don't know what to believe." Jack gently placed his hand over hers. "Believe in today. Tomorrow we'll decide together." And for the first time, Nerea let herself lean against him. Not as a prisoner, not as a shameful past, but as a woman ready to write a new future. A dangerous offer. The stars above Arkan 4 shimmered quietly. But in Jack's heart, a storm was beginning. He had built his life around silence, no drama, no danger, just peace. But now, inside his tent, slept two beings who had changed everything. A little girl who trusted him, and her mother, who once asked to be his wife. And now, he had a choice to make. That morning, Jack took a long walk beyond the trees. He needed to think. The air was cold, sharp in his lungs. His boots crunched dry leaves. He didn't hear Nerea follow him, but she did. He turned to find her standing behind him, wrapped in his second coat. Her hair was loose, blowing in the wind. Her face was serious, but her eyes held something softer now, something almost human. "I thought I'd find you here," she said. "I needed space to think," Jack said. "About what?" I asked. Jack looked away. "About everything." They sat together on a fallen tree. I wasn't trying to trap you, Nerea said quietly. I didn't offer marriage because I'm weak. I offered because it's the only way someone like me gets to stay alive. With a protector. With a name. That means something. Jack looked at her. That's not what bothers me. Then what? I don't want to say yes, just because you need safety. Nerea frowned. You want love instead? Jack hesitated. I want honesty. She stared at him, then said, All right, I'll tell you something real. Something I never told anyone before. Her voice lowered barely above a whisper. There's a bounty on me, she said, not just because I escaped, but because I hurt one of them. One of the slave masters. Jack's eyes narrowed. You killed him? She shook her head. Worse, I broke his pride. In front of his own men. Jack waited. I stabbed him during a trade meeting. Made him bleed. Told him I was never anyone's property again. Now his entire clan wants me dead. She looked at Jack with trembling eyes. I shouldn't be here. I'm dangerous. I'll bring trouble to your door. Jack's voice was calm. Trouble's already come and we're still standing. Nerea sighed. Then I need you to decide. If you want us to stay, I will give myself to you. In bond, in name, in everything. But I won't beg again. Jack was silent for a long time. The wind whistled, then he said, Let's make a deal. Nerea raised an eyebrow. No old world bonds. No ownership. No pressure, Jack said. We stay together if we choose to. If not, we find another way. But Lura stays safe. Always. Nerea blinked. Then slowly she nodded. I can agree to that. They walked back to camp side by side, but as they neared the tent, Lura came running out, eyes wide with fear. Strangers, she cried. In the trees. Jack pulled her behind him. Nerea's body tensed like a weapon. Jack whispered, How many? Lura held up 3 fingers. Red eyes glowed in the shadows ahead. The hunters had returned. But this time, they weren't knocking. Jack turned to Nerea. No more running? Her jaw tightened. No more. She reached into the hidden bag she had carried all this time and pulled out something Jack hadn't seen before. A compact alien weapon. Damaged but still alive with faint blue light. Then we fight, she said. Jack smiled. And in that moment, she wasn't a slave. She was a warrior. And she was standing beside him. The husband decision. The red eyes in the forest did not blink. They stared from the shadows, watching the small tent like wolves before a strike. Jack stood at the front, holding his plasma tool. Nerea was beside him, her hand gripping the alien, weapon she had hidden all this time. Her white hair blew in the cold wind. Behind them, little Lura hid, clutching a small rock with shaking hands. Jack's voice was calm. We give them nothing. Nerea's voice was steel. Agreed. Then the forest broke open, and the hunters charged. 3 tall alien men with armor darker than the night leaped forward, weapons ready. Jack and Nerea didn't wait. They moved. The first alien swung a plasma spear. Jack dodged and drove his tool into the hunter's side. Sparks exploded. The alien screamed and fell. Another hunter aimed at Nerea. Too slow. She fired her stolen weapon. A sharp blue beam hit the alien's leg, burning through armor. He dropped to the ground. The third one ran for the tent, straight for Lura. Jack shouted, No! But Lura didn't scream. She stood still, staring at the alien, and at the last moment she threw her rock. It hit the alien's eye. The alien stumbled, stunned. That was enough time. Jack tackled him from behind and knocked his weapon away. The two wrestled in the mud. The alien was stronger. He raised a blade and roared. Then, Nerea appeared, leaping over them both. She slammed the hilt of her weapon into the alien's head. He collapsed. It was over. All 3 hunters were down, for now. The camp was quiet again. Lura hugged her mother tightly. Jack sat down, breathing hard, his shirt torn and blood on his arm. Nerea cleaned his wound silently. Then she said, They weren't the last. Others will come. Jack nodded. I know. They won't stop until I'm dead? I know. Nerea looked at him. Then why are you still here? He stared at her. Because you are. That night the stars were brighter than before. Jack, Nerea, and Laura sat near the fire. There were no more secrets. Just the crackling warmth and the weight of decisions. Laura was asleep, head on her mother's lap. Jack looked across the fire at Nerea. I've made my choice, he said. She didn't move. And what is it? I want to be your husband. Her eyes widened. Jack continued. Not because I have to, not because you asked, but because I want to. Nerea's lips parted, but no words came out. Jack smiled. You're strong, brave. You've lost more than anyone I've known. But you still fight. You still protect your daughter, and you made a place for me without even knowing it. Nerea whispered. I'm not the same woman I was. Good, Jack said. I don't want the old you. I want this you. He reached across the fire. She took his hand. Later, under the stars, Jack and Nerea stood together. He spoke quietly. Where I come from, we don't have a fancy ceremony for marriage out here in space. No big dresses, no music. She smiled softly. Neither do we anymore. He gently tied a small cord around her wrist. This was my mother's. She took a piece of her torn sash and tied it around his. Now we belong, she said. Weeks passed. The camp changed. The tent became a home. Jack built stronger walls. Nerea taught him parts of her language. Laura laughed more. She called him Papa one morning. Without thinking, he froze. Then he smiled. But peace didn't last forever. One day a signal reached Jack's device. A ship was landing nearby. Not a hunter. A commander. Someone powerful. Jack and Nerea stood on the cliff and watched the sleek silver ship lower into the valley. I know that symbol, she whispered. He's from the old world, one of the high houses. Jack asked. Will he hurt us? She shook her head. If he came, it means something else. They met the commander near the river. He was tall, dressed in silver and gold robes. His guard stayed behind. He looked at Nerea and bowed. I have been searching for you, he said. Nerea narrowed her eyes. Why? The man raised a hand. Your story has reached us. A noble betrayed. A mother who escaped the chains, a child who lived, and a human who stood beside them. Jack stood taller. You're not here to arrest us? Jack asked. No, the man replied. I am here to offer you peace. Nerea didn't trust him. Why? Because your survival gives our people hope. He looked at Laura, who peeked from behind her mother. She is proof we still have a future. He handed Nerea a small device. A new name, a clean record, and a place to live, far from the war. No more hunters, no more chains. Jack watched as Nerea held the device in her hands. She turned to Jack. He smiled. Let's go home. 6 months later, they lived in a valley filled with blue flowers. Jack worked with his hands, building things again. Nerea taught at a local school. Laura ran through the fields laughing. No one chased them anymore. They were not hiding now. They were living. One night, as stars lit the sky, Jack sat beside Nerea on their porch. Do you ever think, he said, how strange it is that a little girl in the rain brought us here? Nerea laughed softly. I think about it every day. He looked at her hand holding his. I'm glad I opened that tent door, he said. She leaned on his shoulder. And I'm glad I knocked on it.